Thank you so much for returning to Foundation Course 1 about the three principal paths of Buddhism. And of the three, we've been spending most of our time talking about renunciation. Oh, first, let's take a moment and think about our motivation to be here. Make it as big and as high as you can. Think about what we can use as protection from our bad habits so that we can reach our goal. The fact that nothing has any nature of its own, and that our actions are what bring about our future experience. So well wrapped in that protection, uh, we gather together to talk about teachings of the Buddha and what we can do to purify our minds of negative habits and to adopt new ways of thinking and new ways of being in the world with other people. Great. Okay, thank you. So this is a 10-class course, and we've already had 6 classes, and we've spent most of our time on renunciation, on this idea of recognizing that we're stuck. We're forced to take on over and over this body and mind that is impure. That the mind is not impure. The mind is simply clear and aware, but the thoughts and feelings and emotions that we habitually have are impure, and the body is impure. This bag of bones. So we renounce thinking that that anything outside could bring me any happiness. And we renounce the idea that we have to be in this cycle of suffering. We may be forced to take on this kind of body and mind over and over again. But we also have the ability to change our future experience. We have the ability to take on a different kind of body and mind, a pure body and mind. And that's what being awakened is. So finally today, we turn our attention towards bodhicitta, or the wish to become fully enlightened in order to benefit all living beings. And we start off talking about, oh, this may be a little small. There we go. Oh, first, let me just give you the words. So it in Tibetan, the Sanskrit word bodhicitta is Jangchu Kisem. Say Jangchu Ki Sem. I'm going to move you over here. I don't get to see that many of you. I wish I could see all of you. I guess I need another monitor so I can show all of you. So Jangchu Kisem. And we there's a shortcut, an abbreviation, Zhang Sem. So the Zhang in Zhang Sem stands for Zhangchu. And Zhangchu means Buddhahood or full enlightenment. The word Zhang means to clean out. Let me silence my phone. To clean away. And remember, we talked about earlier two kinds of obstacles that a Buddha has cleaned out or cleared away. Does anyone remember? One had to do with the obstacle of bad thoughts or negative emotions. So those would be the obstacles to nirvana. Because an arhat, one who has reached nirvana, has cleared away those obstacles. And then to reach full enlightenment, the obstacles cleared away is an obstacle to knowledge. The word Bud in Buddha means to wake up. But the Tibetans translated it as Jangchu, to clean. Chu means to understand or to comprehend. So a Buddha is omniscient. They see everything of the past, present, and future all in one moment. Which is, I don't know about for you, but for me, that's a hard one to wrap my mind around. What would that be like? Sounds awfully busy, doesn't it? I mean, even if I were to comprehend just all the things in my room right here in the same instant, even the ones that are here now, much less the ones I used to have and the ones I will have. That's a lot. So that one I look forward to understanding someday in the future what exactly that means and what that feels like. So Buddhas are, they're omniscient, but they're not omnipotent. They don't have the power to do anything that they want. If they were omnipotent, given that the whole path to full enlightenment is about helping other beings get rid of suffering, they would have done that, right? If they were omnipotent. But they're not. And sem, we've had a few times, and that means mind. So bodhicitta, the Jiangchu part is the bodhi, and the sem part is citta, bodhicitta. So roughly speaking, what bodhicitta is the wish to achieve full enlightenment for the benefit of all living beings. And as we've talked about before, bodhicitta grows out of renunciation. Renunciation is the foundation for bodhicitta. We can't really recognize the suffering situation that other people have, that other living beings have, if we don't understand our own suffering. If we ourselves don't want to get out of this situation of being forced to take on over and over again impure heaps, if we ourselves don't want to get out of that situation, we're not going to be effective at helping other people want to get out of that situation. So not only will we not be effective, we really won't understand what the suffering that other people experience is. So we have to generate renunciation first. And of course, until we reach total enlightenment, we can't truly be of benefit to other living beings. We can help them as best we can. And that's beautiful. But because enlightened beings have omniscience, because they can see all things, they can see, for example, what is going on, what the experience is of another living being, and they will know what best to say or do in that moment to help that person be able to get out of suffering themselves. I don't know if you ever had the experience of going to a teaching, for example, and and you go to the teaching, you have some sort of problem going on in your life, and trying to figure out what to do. And then you're in this teaching, and all of a sudden it's you hear the teaching. It's like the teacher is speaking directly to you, and you know, forgetting everyone else in the room, and they're teaching you exactly what you need to hear. It's so cool when that happens. And of course, like hopefully everyone in the room is feeling the same way, with whatever their problem is. But so I mean, that's what it's like. We as suffering beings, when we're around highly realized beings, it's like our karma pulls out the teachings we need from the teacher. It's not like the Buddha has to go, oh, what's Utpala thinking right now? Oh, yeah, it's that problem. I know that problem. So I think what I'll do is talk about this. I'll give her this teaching. No, it's just it's a spontaneous thing. The karma ripens for me to receive a teaching that will help me on the path, and that karma ripens for that realized being giving me the perfect teaching that I need right then. It sounds like magical sort of thing, but it's just the way it is. It's just the way that karma works. It's just the way that enlightened beings are. So another word you will see sometimes for bodhicitta is semkye. Say semkye. Semkye. And sem we've had, that's the same spelling as this one, mind. And ke, ke means to develop or to grow. And the whole phrase is Jangchup to Senke. Jangchup, Buddhahood, to, let's see, of, is that right? Did I get that right? I think it's S. Two. It is two. It looks like two, sounds like two, and T-O, it is two. Sem, K. So developing the mind to Buddhahood. Sometimes you won't hear it so much in the worldview organization's teachings, but sometimes you'll hear bodhicitta talked about as Buddha mind. That there's like you already have a Buddha mind, and that you just need to uncover it. But that understanding is not quite correct of what bodhicitta is. We're talking here about the wish to develop that mind that is able to benefit all living beings. So you become a bodhisattva when you develop this bodhicitta, when you get Jungsem. The first moment that Jungsem arises in your mind, you are a bodhisattva simultaneously. So what it means to be a bodhisattva is that you have Jungsem. And like I mentioned, I think it was last time, that just wanting to help people, wanting to be a nice person, wanting to be a generous person, wanting to be a person who gives safety and protection for others. While all wonderful, wonderful qualities, those are not bodhisattvas unless they have the motivation to reach full enlightenment in order to truly benefit other living beings. And other courses will get into this more deeply, but there are different levels of, or different kinds of bodhicitta. There's something that's like the wish to have the wish. Like, I'm a person who wants to have the wish to reach full enlightenment to benefit all beings. I really wish that I had that wish, strongly in my heart. And then the real bodhicitta, that wish in your heart. The first one, they call it sugarcane bodhicitta, because it's very sweet. It is a very sweet wish, but it's hollow, because it's not there in every moment. It's not there for every living being. Maybe we feel that way for some people, but not everyone. Not quite the real thing. So when we do prayers, for example, and recite that I'm generating the wish for enlightenment in the prayer, that's more the sugarcane kind, unless we do have it deeply in our heart. And we'll talk more about bodhicitta in next week's class. So you become a bodhisattva by getting bodhicitta. When you get bodhicitta, you are a bodhisattva. So how does this relate to seeing emptiness directly? You can think of bodhicitta and the wisdom which understands emptiness, or the wisdom which directly realizes emptiness. Those are, in one way, they're two very different things. So you can develop bodhicitta, genuine bodhicitta, without really even understanding emptiness, much less having seen it directly. So long before you understand emptiness, you can become a bodhisattva. If you have, and also there are people who can understand perfectly and directly experience emptiness without having bodhicitta. They're called arhats, right? They've or aryas. They've seen emptiness directly, and on the arhat track, on the lower, they call it a vehicle, but with a lower motivation, I want to reach my own liberation from the endless cycle of being forced to take on an impure body and mind. An arhat has gone out of that cycle. So they're out of the realm of samsara, but they don't have bodhicitta in their mind. So they're not a fully enlightened being. But if you have bodhicitta and you have a direct experience of emptiness, you see emptiness directly. It's like the power of bodhicitta it is so huge that at that point, if you have bodhicitta in your mind and you see emptiness directly, at that point you're at what they call the first ground or the first level of a bodhisattva. And there are 10 levels. So you can be a bodhisattva who's not yet on the first ground, in other words. So we're going to talk today about the benefits of bodhicitta. So this sounds very, very similar to Jung Sem, but this is Jungchup Sempa, and if you just notice, this pa is spelled a little differently. This word, Jungchup Sempa, means bodhisattva. And this pa, with this spelling, is the sattva in bodhisattva. It means warrior. Bodhisattva. So altogether, then it's like the warrior of the mind of enlightenment. A person who has bodhicitta, who has the wish to become fully enlightened. So your homework, well, let me make sure. I'm sorry, I should have opened this earlier. I just want to make sure I covered all the parts that are not the benefits. Okay, we talked about when you become a bodhisattva, and when is it? When do you become a bodhisattva? Anybody?
After experience, see emptiness directly with bodhicitta.
Okay, so you don't have to have seen emptiness directly. So you can become a bodhisattva. I'm sorry if I made that confusing. The first level of a bodhisattva is when you see emptiness directly, after you've seen or after you've generated bodhicitta. But you become a bodhisattva before then. You don't have to have seen emptiness directly in order to be a bodhisattva. The only criterion for a bodhisattva is to have generated bodhicitta. You advance up the different levels of the path of a bodhisattva. The first level being seeing emptiness directly with bodhicitta in your heart. But the moment you have bodhicitta, regardless of whether you even understand emptiness, the moment you generate bodhicitta, you are a bodhisattva. And can you reach nirvana before you become a bodhisattva?
No.
No. There's no such thing as arhats.
Yes, just if we become arhat.
Right. They don't have, arhats don't necessarily have bodhicitta. So it's possible that you can, study and learn and understand emptiness perfectly and then see it directly without having bodhicitta in your heart, and then you can reach nirvana. But the story goes that that the Buddhists will come and tap you on the shoulder as you're sitting in your nirvana, and they say, "Hey, look around here. Look at all these people who are suffering. Don't you want to help them too?" And then they're like, "Oh yeah, right, okay." And then they have to work on generating bodhicitta. But actually, I'm with you secretly, Marina. I really don't understand how you couldn't get bodhicitta the moment you see emptiness directly if you didn't have it before. How would that be possible if you understand that everything's coming from you, that all the suffering beings, all of them come from you? Of course I'd want to reach that point where all the suffering I could get rid of all the suffering. Of course. But you and I may be alone, and that's not what the official story is. We can talk about it once we get there to our Buddhist paradises. Okay, so those were the three main things to talk about, like the path of a bodhisattva and the path of an arhat, how it differs from the path of an arhat. Okay, so now we'll dive into the benefits. And I'm going to give you 10 benefits, and your homework is we'll ask for 6 of them. So you can pick whichever 6 you like. I just want to warn you that the answer key, if you are interested in Tibetan, if you are learning Tibetan, the answer key has a lot of mistakes in the Tibetan. And so I've tried to capture all the correct spellings in words in this document that I'm sharing with you. Okay? Okay, so the first benefit that Geshe Michael talked about is this one here. Gyewa Namkyen Gigyu. Say Gyewa Namkyen Ki Gyu. Oh no, it's just Gyu. Doesn't have to be a hard end. Gyu. Gyewa Namkyen Gigyu. So Gyewa, we've had this one before as well. Does anyone remember Gyewa? It was a while ago. It means a virtue or good deed. Some action that benefits another living being. Namkyen, that's the word for, actually, it's the abbreviation of the phrase for omniscience. The whole phrase is Nampa Tamche Kempa. But Namkyen, if you see that, that means omniscience. And it means to know everything, all things, of all times. And the only kind of person that has omniscience is an enlightened being, a fully enlightened being. Ki means of, and gyu means cause. So our first benefit then is good deeds become a cause for omniscience. Once you have bodhicitta in your heart, the benefit of wanting to help everybody serves as a cause for seeing all things in all times. So if we don't have this, if we don't have bodhicitta, then then the good things that we do are causes for a good experience in the future, but a samsaric good experience. So if we do good things, if we help other people with bodhicitta in our hearts, they become a cause for being totally enlightened. So most of these benefits have to do with that sort of simple, what would you say, calculation. Doing a good deed, for example, with renunciation, having developed a renunciation, that would be a cause for nirvana, for getting out of the cycle of having to take on over and over and over again impure body and mind, getting out of the wheel of samsara. So renunciation is a cause for getting out of samsara, and bodhicitta is a cause for omniscience. And these sources of the benefits, as it talks about in your reading, They come from Jangchup Sempe Chupala Jukpa, which you probably have heard of by its Sanskrit name, which is the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. And if you come to the Shuangsang's Tower, the mixed nuts group, Seiji Arao is working on translating the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, which is an extraordinary masterpiece on what it is that bodhisattvas do and how it is that they think. So Master Shantideva talked about the benefits of bodhicitta. And Pabonka Rinpoche, he's the one who wrote the commentary that we're studying, right? He also mentions, he uses as a source Umala Jukpa, which, if you're a true mixed nuts nerd, you've heard Umala Jukpa. It means entering the middle way, or Madhyamika Avatara by Master Chandrakirti. So Master Chandrakirti, who's explaining Arya Nagarjuna's book on wisdom, talks about the benefits of bodhicitta. I gotta say, that's a smart cookie, if you ask me. If someone who's talking about emptiness and about the nature of reality talks about bodhicitta, yeah, powerful combination. And then from another group, which I didn't write down, but there's a group of texts called the Rare Stack. And this is like a folder in the Kangyur, collection of all the Buddha's teachings, sutras. And the sutra that they use is called The Account of Kashyapa. And we haven't talked about that much in Mixed Nuts, but if you are reading any of the Mixed Nuts translations, and if you're the kind of person who actually looks at the footnotes, you'll see that many different authors, many different authors will call on this sutra, the account of Kashyapa. Okay. So this second benefit that Pabonka Rinpoche talks about, actually, he doesn't really talk about them. He just kind of lists them out. But I have 46 minutes to fill, so I'm going to talk about them a tiny bit. Okay. The second benefit is Amichakjar Upa. Say Hla, Michak, Jar, Upa. So Hla, we had this before too. Do you remember? Hla? Sometimes you'll hear people call someone else that they really like. They call them Hla. Angel. Or God. And that's what Hlasa is. This Sa means like ground. And Hla is angel. So Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, is the land of the gods. And the United States has a similar place. We call it Los Angeles. but it means the same thing. In Spanish, Los Angeles, it's the place of the gods, the angels. Okay, so me. So I've talked about me or those M words as generally being negative, meaning something negative. But the word me can also mean human being. And that's what it means in this particular usage. Chalk. Chalk is short for chakselo. And if you've been exposed to many, like at the beginning of Tibetan texts, there'll be this whole section at the very top where chakselo appears, like at the end of many different verses. And what it means is that the author is bowing down to, like, for example, the Buddha and to Manjushri and to previous teachers in the lineage. So Chaksa Lo is to prostrate or bow down. So Chak is short for that. Also by itself, it means hand. So you're putting your hands together when you bow down. So means to look for something. So when you're prostrating to your teacher, for example, or to the Buddha, you're looking for something from them. You're joining your hands to impeach them, usually to teach you, to guide you. Now, chok jar or chok jaw, so that means prostration. You've done a prostration. Jaw is to do prostration. And upa is, I don't know, it just sounds so cool. Upa means worthy. So altogether, this means you are worthy. A person with bodhicitta becomes worthy to be bowed down to by humans and angels or deities. Gods and humans. You become among the holiest people that exist on this world, any world. Now, do we go after this particular benefit? Like, hey, I want everyone to bow down to me, so I'm going to work on developing bodhicitta. No, it's just that's what you become. It's not like that's what you want to have happen necessarily, but that you become a whole different kind of person than you are now, or that you now appear to be. You become worthy of being venerated. The third one is Nyen Rang Sil Ginenpa. Say Nyen wrong, sil. It's the low tone S sound, sil, gi, nunpa. Nyen, this stands for, it means to listen, but what this is referring to are listeners. So on the lower, there's a track of teachings called the listener teachings. These are people who they can hear teachings on the greater way. They can hear teachings on bodhicitta, and they can also pass them on correctly, interestingly enough, but they don't have an interest in generating bodhicitta themselves, or they don't have the seeds to generate bodhicitta themselves. So they're called listeners. And then wrong, that means self. But what it refers to here, especially when you see nyen wrong together, it refers to self-made Buddhas. Or sometimes you hear them from other teachers call them solitary realizers. But you know Geshe Michael, he doesn't like words with multiple syllables. So self-made Buddha. And so what does he say? Number one, they're not self-made. And number two, they're not Buddhas. So this is also a track that is a lower track. And they're called self-made because they haven't had a teacher in this life. They have had teachers in previous lives, just not in this life. So the seeds that were planted from going to teachings with teachers for who knows how many countless lifetimes beforehand were popping in this life without having a teacher in front of them. And Buddha here, Geshe Michael uses the lowercase b, Buddha instead of Buddha, because they've reached nirvana. They've gone out of the cycle of suffering, but they don't have bodhicitta. So that's what wrong, nyen wrong means. Silgi nunpa is a word. It's not one that we can break up. It is a word, silgi nunpa, and it means to outshine. Like the sun outshines the moon, which is why we can barely see the moon during the daytime. Like the moon outshines the stars. Like in the nighttime, if we have a full moon, it's very difficult to see any but the very brightest of stars. Like when, well, for me anyway, when Geshe Michael walks in the room, like all my attention goes for him. For me, he outshines everyone else in the room. Like a queen, wow. So all my life there had been a Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth. We share the same first name. But I've always known a Queen Elizabeth, but she passed away a couple years ago. Anyway, when she would walk into a room, even this not particularly attractive or physically beautiful person, but when she walked into a room, everyone, turned their head. She outshines everyone, or she did outshine everyone in the room. So altogether, when you have bodhicitta, you outshine listeners and self-made Buddhas. These two kinds of beings, listeners and self-made Buddhas, are very, very high practitioners. Very high practitioners. But even you just have bodhicitta, you outshine them. The wish to become fully enlightened, that wish is so powerful. Is so powerful. And I mean, it makes sense, right? The wish is that you can benefit countless numbers of living beings. We can't even imagine how many living beings. It's a huge number of living beings. And we don't want to just help them make sure they don't have a headache or something. We want to help them to escape from the suffering, that life that they're chained in, that they're imprisoned in. And we want to free them from that cycle of suffering. So that motivation is huge. It really, we can't even imagine how huge it is. So it shines, we outshine. Those who develop bodhicitta outshine even the highest practitioners on other paths. Here is the fourth one. Gyewa chungse tekchen giche. Say Gyewa chungse. Oh, sorry, that was a low tone S. Chungse. Chungse. Tekchen gi che. Gyewa, you know, right? We just had it a little bit ago. And Milan probably has it somewhere in the chat as well. Virtue, good deed. Chungse, chungse, chungse means the tiniest. That's why I want to go up, because teeny tiny. I want to use a high tone when I say teeny tiny. But I have to say teeny tiny. Chungse. Chungse means the tiniest. Very small. A tiny good deed. Gewa chungse. A tiny good deed. Like if you're sitting out in the park and you're eating a sandwich and there are birds around it, and you take a little crumb of bread and you feed the birds a little crumb of bread. A deed like that. A tiny good deed. Tekjen. I can't remember if we've had this before. I think we have. But it means greater vehicle. It means Mahayana. And che we've had ch means dharma. Dharma. Here it means dharma. It could mean thing, but here it means dharma, especially when you see it next to tekchen. So the dharma of the middle way. This tiniest small deed becomes the practice, the dharma of the Mahayana. Any tiny good thing you do becomes a practice of the greater way vehicle. Now, is it possible to lose bodhicitta? It is possible. It is possible. There, if you break a root vow of the bodhisattva vows, you can lose your bodhicitta. But generally speaking, once you have generated bodhicitta, it's like one of those, what do you call it? Like a self-perpetuating machine, almost. Like the power of the wish to benefit all living beings, all of those living beings, to the highest possible state of existence, freedom from suffering. It typically just continues on unless you do something really horrific, unless you truly in the bottom of your heart do a complete karma. And you'll understand complete karma if you've done the 5th foundation course, which is about karma. But you've done something that's like, I give this up, I'm done, I'm finished. This is all crazy. This is nonsense. I don't believe any of it anymore. And you own that thought, and it truly can go away. But generally speaking, if you're on this path and you're studying this path and you develop bodhicitta and you continually practice, then it continues on. And so then any little thing you do all day, you open the door for someone, you smile at, the person at the grocery store who's bagging your groceries. You give some change to a person sitting on the street begging for money. You hold a child's hand. You feed an animal like Pabonka Rinpoche said. Any little thing you do is a practice of the Mahayana. Now that's cool. So that's like, gosh. And they do say we start small, right? We start small and it becomes a habit to do good things for other people, to do virtuous acts, to benefit others. And we build on that habit. And then very similarly, the 5th benefit is Gewa Chung Se Sangye Kigyu. Say Gewa Chung Se Sangye ki gyu. Now, I think we've had all these words now. Does anyone want to take a stab at what this means in English? Gewa was
Good deed.
good deed. Great. Virtue. Thank you, Laura. And Elva, my guess is that's what it looks like in Chinese characters. Jungsei,
Small.
tiny little thing, very small, yes, very small. Sangye,
Buddha.
Buddhahood, yes. Ki,
Karma.
of, very good. And gyu, cause, cause. So any tiny little good deed is a cause for your future Buddhahood. So that's very similar to being every teeny tiny little good deed is a practice, is a Mahayana practice, right? But Bonka Rinpoche does mention them because, we're all different. One of these is going to hit you differently than the others. Whichever way, whichever one strikes your heart and you go, oh, wow, that is so cool. Yeah, that's a great benefit. That's the one. So he'll say it however many times it takes. Here's the sixth one. Gyewa chung se gyelse kichupa. Say gyewa chung se gyelse ki chupa. So gyewa chung se, any tiny good deed, right? Gyewa chung se. Gyelse, we know. We have a venerable Gyelse. If you've been around these teachings before, this is her name. Gyelse.
Something with Bodhisattva, like child of Buddha, but I can be wrong.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Like a child of Buddha or like Bodhisattva, but
Yes.
I can be wrong.
No, you are absolutely correct. Gyelse is another word for Bodhisattva, child of the Buddha. And Chupa, this is a hard stop here between the U and the P. It's Chupa, Chupa. And that means activity. Activity. So any teeny tiny little good deed is the activity of a child of the Buddhas. Activity of bodhisattvas. They say activities of bodhisattvas are world shaking. Like whenever a bodhisattva does something to benefit other beings, the whole planet shakes. Oh, many planets shake. And it's like all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are so happy that there's someone who has bodhicitta in their heart and is working to do good deeds to help other living beings. And that nothing thrills them more than that. So they jump around and cause earthquakes. The seventh, and this is related, is Sangye Namki Sesu Kon. Say Sangye, Nam, Ki, Se, Su, Gong. Sangye we know, Buddha. This Nam, with this spelling, it has a sa at the end, an S at the end. That makes this a pluralizer. It's like putting an S on the end of an English word, more than one. So we're talking about Buddhas, many Buddhas, the Buddhas, all of them. Say, as Marina told us just a moment ago, can someone else tell me what Marina said a moment ago? That say means?
Eyes of the Buddhas.
Child of the Buddha, right. Say. Su means as. And gong. Gong means to consider. So the Buddhas consider you as their child. You have joined the family of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The Buddhas, all of them, consider you their child. And if you're a mom, you know how strong that feeling is, that you have, the love you have for your children. So you can imagine. I mean, those of us who are children, which is all of us, we've had moms. We know mom's love. We know what that is. The eighth benefit is Jangchup Sempa Namki Pundugon. So Jangchup, say Jangchup, Sempa, Nam, Ki, Pun, Du, Gong. Jangchup Sempa Namki Pundugon. So we can almost put this together. We're just missing a couple of words, right? Jangchup Sempa with this spelling. Jangchup Sempa.
Bodhisattva.
Yeah, Bodhisattva. And then Nam with this spelling.
Plural.
Pluralizer, right. So Jangchup Sempa Nam, all the Bodhisattvas. Gong we just had. To consider. And do is like Su. It's just spelled this way because of Tibetan grammar rules.
S.
When it follows an N, a word ending in N, then you use a D instead of an S. Anyway, so you consider as Pun. So what do you guess? I mean, just to anticipate, what this means, what do you guess that bodhisattvas, if Buddhas consider you, oh, I have a new daughter, I have a new son, what is it that bodhisattvas consider you as?
Sibling.
They consider you as their brother or sister, their sibling. Do you know this word? Their sibling. So that's what pun is. Pun. So everyone's jumping around. All the Buddhists and Bodhisattvas are jumping around because there's a new member of the family. Number 9. Tekchen Lashu. Say Tekchen. La. And this is a low tone S. Shu. Tekchen Lashu. So Tekchen, we just had a couple minutes ago. Does anyone remember?
Great. Great.
The greater way.
Mm.
Mahayana.
Yes.
Mahayana. La here means in, and shuk it means entered, past tense of to enter. So once you have bodhicitta, you have entered the middle way. So the middle way, the Mahayana, that is, they say it's a way, it's a vehicle, but it's really a capacity. Like the lower way, the lower capacity is looking out for an individual, oneself, where the greater way, the Mahayana, the greater capacity is all living beings. So the difference in capacity is huge, right? So until we have genuine bodhicitta, we may do the prayer that we want to attain. We wish to attain the wish, basically. We want to have the wish. We may consider ourselves Mahayana, but we're not yet. Until we have the wish, when we get the wish, the moment we get the wish, we have entered the greater way. And then the 10th benefit that we'll talk about is called Sechikla Sangya. Say, chik, la, sang, ya. So say, this is our first time with this word, I believe. It means life. Life. Tsering is a common Tibetan name, Tsering, and that means long life. And there are also different prayers you can do, like for your teachers, for example, that are tsering. You pray for the long life of your teacher. You often wish your teacher long life. You know, I often see it in the chats with when Geshe Michael's teaching, you know, please have a long life. Tsering. Chik. Chik means one. So Tibetan numbers, chik ni sum shi nga druk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chik. Chik is one. I'm teaching Maitri, Seiji's son, how to count in Tibetan. And he really wants to go on all the way to 8. I've taught him Chik Ni Sum. Chik Ni Sum. And he likes to go Chik Ni Sum. He wants to go to 8, but I say, no, you have to do Chik Ni Sum all by yourself first. Then we'll continue. Okay, one life. Sangya is a new word. It's actually the verb for Sangye, which is Buddha. So the verb to become a Buddha, Sangya. If you have bodhicitta, this is the one that makes me cry. If you have bodhicitta, you can become a Buddha in this life. You can help people in this life. Now, normally when they talk about, you know, how long it takes to become a Buddha, they talk about it can take like 3 countless eons, which is a heck of a long time. Geshe Michael has talked about, and the texts talk about, when you see emptiness directly, under the when you see emptiness directly, you'll see your future enlightenment. You'll see how many lifetimes it's going to take. When you see emptiness directly with a mind that's imbued with bodhicitta, with the wish to benefit all living beings, you see your future Buddhahood in this life. If you practice Tantra, if you practice Vajrayana, if you practice Diamond Way, to practice but also what this means is that bodhicitta is the prerequisite to practicing Tantra. Tantra is Geshe Michael calls it the Diamond Way. It's also called the Secret Way. And these practices are secret, both in the sense of we don't talk about them in general, casually, but also secret in that they are self-secret. We cannot understand them until we have been introduced to into the Diamond Way. To even be introduced to the Diamond Way, we must have bodhicitta. They say that the bodhicitta must be like you've got a fire under your bum, that like your hair is on fire, like you want to help people so much that you'll do whatever it takes. No waiting, no sitting around. I can't stand it anymore that so many people are suffering. I can help them. If I become enlightened myself, I must help them. It is I who sees them this way. It's up to me. I must help them. I cannot sit by any longer. So, with that kind of power, that kind of motivation driving you, it is possible to become fully enlightened in this life, this one life. Now, I wanted to share with you that Geshe Michael will begin teaching the Greater Way again, which he hasn't done since 2010. He's going to start teaching it in next year, in 2026. And he has said, it would be his preference if everyone took all of the foundation courses, all the ACI courses. But he says, at the minimum, he wants you, if you are interested, to let me see if I can I'm trying to find this graphic, if I can find it really quickly. Ale just sent it to me. He will be giving 4 teachings in 2024 or 2025, this year, that will be prerequisites for taking Greater Way teachings with him in 2026. So if you are interested, then it would be lovely if you could join in. Now, the first set of teachings did it just disappear? It did, didn't it? Hold on. I have to do this again. Oh, and I only have 1 minute. Okay, so just so you know, the teachings are April 17th through 27th. That's the first of the 4 teachings that are required to take the Diamond Way teachings with him. It's sold out for in-person, but you can join in teachings online. So you don't have to travel all around the world all the time. So April 17th through 27th. Then July 18th through 20th, he'll be teaching in Mexico City. October 24th through 28th in Phoenix, Arizona, and December 12th through 15th in Kyoto. So just wanted to let you know about that if you are interested, and I'm right up on time. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your interest in these teachings. Thank you, live translators. I know I have probably talked a lot more quickly than I normally do, and I apologize for that. And thank you, tech team. You're brilliant. Thank you, ACI. Thank you, Geshe Michael. And I really look forward to seeing you next week again when we continue talking about bodhicitta. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Ven Utpala. Thank you for a beautiful teaching.
Yay!
Thank you so much.
Yay! Thank you guys so much.